This part of the world in which Muslims established the Khilafah state is called Darul Islam. And with the rest of the world which lives with us in peace and mutual non-aggression, this is Darul Salam, a world of peace and security. And so we then say to Darul Harb, stop your aggression, stop your oppression. We have to explore and to exhaust all possible peaceful means to resolve the problem. Only after we have explored and we have exhausted all possible peaceful means to resolve the problem, and provided that we have the force, the power to do so, we'll now come after you and we'll fight you. If we do not have the power, we'll have to show patience and make hijrah. But when we do have the power, we will use power, we'll use force for the purpose of establishing peace and security on earth. This, in a nutshell, is the Islamic conception of an international order. This, in a nutshell, is how the Khilafah state will relate with the rest of the world. I wish I had the time to turn to a description of the Khilafah state and the economy, on the establishment of a fair and free market. I don't have the time, I'm sorry. I wish I had the time to speak about the Khilafah state and the system of money, and how money should always be money with integrity, money with integrity. I wish I had the time to go to the Quran to show how money in Islam always has intrinsic value. That the value of the money is in the money, not in the pockets of a man named George Soros. I wish I had the time to turn and explain to you what is money today. I have studied international monetary economics at 2 universities. I've studied it in the Quran, and I'm not talking out of my hat when I say that the money we are now using today is bogus, it's fraudulent, it's utterly haram. And if you can't find a mufti to say that, don't blame me, blame mufti, because I know my subject. It's not going to last for long again, this bogus paper money, because tomorrow, when the war takes place, because they are lusting for war on Russia, they can't wait for war on Russia. And Russia says, we're not afraid of you. Come whenever you want. We are not afraid of you. Russia has Christian people. They tried to make Russia a barbarian communist state, an atheist state. They did not succeed. And my heart beats with happiness. I don't know about yours. I know about mine. That Russia is returning to Orthodox Christianity. For me, that's something joyful. And that the Christian people in Russia, knowing that war is coming, knowing that it's going to be nuclear war, it will happen before the end of this month, it will happen next month. But those who are only eating biryani and going to sleep, they don't care. They don't care. Nuclear war is coming. It's a nuclear war that our Prophet has spoken about, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, and we, before I end, we'll return to that subject. They know that most of them will die. But are those Christian people afraid of death? Are they running away from death? Sheikh, tell me where to go that I can be safe. I'm getting all the emails now. No. We are proud and happy that an Orthodox Christian people, are showing courage, that they're not afraid to die. And they're prepared to stand up and to face and resist the greatest oppressor that mankind has ever known, about whom the angels said, shall you place on us those who will commit fasad and shed blood? أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ? That's happening now. The big war is coming. They're not afraid of it. The war is coming because Russia is challenging their bogus monetary system. That's why. It's not because of Syria. It's not because of Ukraine. It's because of something called BRICS. We don't have the policy, the time, to take you into a description of the Khilafah state on respect of its foreign policy, the economy, the market, the monetary system, and so on. But we do have to take a little time for at least one part of the subject before we move on. So please bear with me. The Quran speaks about two kinds of Christians. Two kinds of Christians. And be careful that you're not negligent with the Quran. Allah speaks in the Quran and says in Surah Al-Ma'idah, O you who, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who have faith, لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء. Do not take the Jews and do not take the Christians as your friends and allies. Don't submit to them. Don't pledge your loyalty to the British Crown. That's what they all did. I don't want to mention names because they're going to be very offended. They all pledged their loyalty to the British Crown in order to build a state called Pakistan. They all pledged their loyalty to the British Crown. Not just to the British Parliament or government, that's bad enough. It's worse than that. They pledged their loyalty to the British Crown, every single one of them, except some ulama of distinguished memory in India. Allah said, don't take the Jews and don't take the Christians as your friends and allies. Don't take them as your friends and allies. Is he talking about all Jews and all Christians? Only the schoolboy would say so. Proper methodology will easily lead you to the conclusion, no. Allah could not be talking about all Jews and all Christians, as we'll see in a moment. Well, then which Jews and which Christians? The answer is in the words which follow. بَعْدُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. Do not take such Jews, now listen carefully, do not take such Jews and do not take such Christians as your friends and allies, who themselves are friends and allies of each other. In other words, the Quran is anticipating something astonishing. The Christians accuse the Jews of killing God himself. You can't do worse than that. The crucifixion. So to visualize or to anticipate a reconciliation, a rapprochement, and friendship and alliance between a part of the Christian world and a part of the Jewish world is astonishing. And yet that is what Allah is saying is going to happen. When that Jewish-Christian alliance comes into being, listen carefully, the Quran was revealed more than 1,000 years before Iqbal was even born. When that Christian-Jewish, Judeo-Christian alliance comes into being, don't take them as your friends and allies. But Allah goes on to say, وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. Whosoever from amongst you turn to them with friendship and alliance, belong to them. We no longer belong to us. Come sit over here, please. Yeah. Turn to sit here. Can you sit here? Can you sit here? One more, yeah? Make some room here. Don't, if you turn to them with friendship and alliance, you belong to them. You no longer belong to us. Come forward, come forward. If you turn to them with friendship and alliance, you no longer belong to us, you belong to them. Inna Allah la yahdi al-qawma adh-dhalimin. Surely Allah does not provide guidance for a wicked people. So if you choose to be friendly with Washington, because the Judeo-Christian alliance has already come into being, it is the Zionist Judeo-Christian alliance, which has NATO and its military arm, if you didn't know it. And you choose from day one to remain friends with Washington. What is your status? What is the status, I have to say, of a Saudi Arabia, which has been a client state of the United States from the time that they took over that country, from the Ottomans? What is the status of all the other governments ruling over Muslims who are afraid to step out of the line? They have to put their toe on the line and obey what Washington says, out of fear. Because if you step off the line, your money could become like the Venezuelan Bolivar, and you'll have inflation destroying you and your economy. What is the status of the world of Islam today, which maintains friendly relations with Washington and London and Paris and Bonn and NATO and so on and so on and so on? Who created the United Nations organization? Was it Pakistan? Was it Egypt? Was it Bangladesh? Did the Arabs do it? Who created the International Monetary Fund? If you don't know it, then allow me, politely so, to tell you. It is the Judeo-Christian alliance, through NATO, who won the First and the Second World War. The NATO came into being. And these victors of the war, they are the ones who established the United Nations. They are the ones who established the International Monetary Fund, etc. And you now become members of these organizations in defiance of Allah's command in the Quran. What is your status? So this is our relationship with one part of the Christian world. We are prohibited by the Quran. But there are people who don't hear, and there are others who don't want to hear. So what can we do for them? Answer: leave them and move on. Because if you have the truth will triumph despite whatever a rival to the truth may seek to do. So leave them and move on. Allah speaks in the Quran about another kind of Christian. Listen carefully now. Listen carefully. These Christians, you must not be friends and allies with them. No, prohibited. But he speaks about another one. He says, لَتَجِدَنَّ. This is the same Surah Al-Ma'idah. You will most certainly find at this time and in time to come, Fi'l Mudariya, أَشَدَّ النَّاسِ عَدَاوَةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الْيَهُودَ. Those who will have the greatest hostility for you will be the Jews. It happened in the lifetime of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, and it never recurred for 1,000 years or more.